Good evening. My name is Leslie Collum, and along with Amy Green, I am co-president of the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to the public forums for candidates in 3 Murfreesboro city elections: City School Board, City Council, and City Mayor. Before we begin, I would like to thank the Murfreesboro City Communications Department and City Cable Commission for making these forums available to the viewing audience. Also, I want to thank Dr. Mary Evins, who leads the American Democracy Project at Middle Tennessee State University, for her assistance in securing the moderators for these forums. We appreciate their willingness to serve in this capacity. I will now turn it over to the moderator, who will explain how the forum will be conducted and introduce our candidates.
Well, good evening, everyone joining us at home and in the chambers. I am Amanda Berry, and I will serve as moderator for this forum. The forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, the Murfreesboro Communications Department, and the Murfreesboro Cable Commission. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this forum. Tonight, we will hear remarks from the City School Board candidates. Before introducing each of the candidates, I would like to outline the procedure for tonight's event. Each candidate will be allowed 1 minute to make an opening statement. When all candidates have completed their opening statement, the first of several questions will be asked. The candidates have not been told which questions will be asked. Each candidate will be given 45 seconds to answer each question. The candidates will have 1 minute to answer the last question, as well as make any closing remarks if you wish. I will begin by introducing the candidates. They are each seeking election to one of 3 seats on the City School Board of Murfreesboro. These are very important roles, and we hope to hear them address the substantive issues facing us all. I want to thank them for their gracious acceptance of our invitation to participate in this event. Sitting on my right and speaking first tonight is Wesley Ballard, Kevin Fisher, Geoffrey Herring, Phil King, Novonda Lilly, Nancy Rainier, and Collier Smith. Mr. Ballard, you may begin with your opening statement.
Thank you. I'm Wesley Ballard. I'm known as Wes by most people, so feel free to call me that. If you call me Wesley, I know you're upset. So get comfortable with that. And I want to say greetings to all the candidates up here, and it's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. I have lived in Murfreesboro now for since 1983, and I came here to work with Nissan then, and I'm now retired from Nissan. I've lived with my wife, Zaza, in Murfreesboro here for 37 years. She's been stuck with me for that long, and we raised sons, Carl and Zachary, in the public school systems here in both Murfreesboro City and Rutherford County. I graduated from MTSU with a BS in Industrial Technology, and as I said, I retired from Nissan Smyrna in the year 2007. After 24 years with Nissan, I was the Director of Product Quality Assurance there. I had a total of 32 years in the auto industry.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. Mr. Fisher?
Hi, my name is Kevin Fisher, and I sit here today as a candidate for the Murfreesboro City School Board. I decided to enter this race because I am a parent. I've been active in the community for many years, and I believe very strongly that a quality education should be available to every child. Unlike many of the other candidates, I'm opposed to Common Core, and will fight to address that issue. I'm also concerned about the issue of overcrowding in the local schools. I believe there are options available which haven't been discussed previously, and I believe very strongly that it's time that we address the issue of school safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Herring?
Hello, I'm Geoffrey Robert Burns Herring. I'm almost a 50-year resident of Murfreesboro, originally from Mississippi. I'm a product of Murfreesboro's city schools, being that campus school, Central Middle School, and Riverdale High School. I'm a 3-time graduate of MTSU. I'm the father of 2, a 12-year-old who's currently at Siegel Middle, but a graduate, if you will, of Irma Siegel Elementary, as well as my son, who's a freshman at Siegel High School, also a product of Murfreesboro City Schools. I served on the PTA. I chose to run for this office and considered this 4 years ago, obviously now making it more formal. I look forward to the opportunity to serve, should that be the favor of the citizens, and hope to bring my business background as well as my experience, as an adjunct professor in education as well at MTSU. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Mr. King?
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for having us tonight. And I'd also like to thank you, the viewers at home. I'll be honest with you, the first thing I thought about was a quote that Alabama football coach Nick Saban has said. You can choose to spend time or you can choose to invest time. And right now, you've made the choice to invest time into learning about an issue or something that affects our community, the place where you and I have chosen to live. I'm originally from Mississippi as well. I've been here almost 25 years. I've been married over 20 years. My son is 22. My daughter is 16. Both are products of Black Fox Elementary. The main reason I'm running is I think good schools attract good jobs, and good jobs is what help our community grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Ms. Lilly?
My name is Novonda Lilly, and I've been a resident of Murfreesboro for 12 years. I've worked in the community, and I'm passionately committed to developing and investing in our youth in the community. I'm a parent that has students in the school system. I'm an advocate for the public education, and I'm dedicated to ensuring that all kids have the opportunity to a public education. I'm dedicated to supporting the school board, and I'm also excited about the opportunity to service the community of Murfreesboro. What better way to do that than to use my transferable skill sets to implement policies and procedures that address our students in the Murfreesboro community. As a concerned parent, I'm excited about the opportunity to service the community and looking forward to the opportunity to serve on the board for the Murfreesboro City School Board.
Thank you, Ms. Lilly. Ms. Rainier?
It's Rainier.
Rainier,
If
my
I
apologies.
can correct you, thank you. Good evening. First, I want to also thank the League of Women Voters for hosting our forum tonight. My name is Nancy Rainier, and I'm a candidate for the Murfreesboro City School Board. I've been serving on the board for the last 2 years. Prior to that, I taught in the Murfreesboro City School System for 29.5 years and retired in May of 2010. Prior to that, I taught in Indiana, where I grew up, moved to Missouri, taught there, moved to Illinois, taught there, and then in Rutherford County when we first moved here. That gives me a total of 37.5 years of teaching experience. I've always been an advocate for our students and teachers in the city of Murfreesboro, and I would like to continue that. I think I have a unique perspective, having been in the classroom. I know the needs, I know what it takes on a day-to-day basis, and I want to do what I can to promote the successes of our children and teachers. I would appreciate your vote on April 15th. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rainier. Ms. Lilly? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Smith?
Hi, I'm Collier Smith. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this important forum. The school board, we are advocates for our children, the teachers, and the parents, and we shape the policies around our schools, build the budget, and guide the director of schools. 2.5 years ago, the City Council appointed me to the school board, and I was very privileged to have that appointment. The reason behind that is that for many years, I've been working every day to the benefit of the schools through the work of the City Schools Foundation, where I've been a member of the Board of Trustees since its inception and still hold a position there as the school board liaison. I also am a parent when I was appointed of 3 children in the system, and now I have 2, and I started the Explorer Fund, which has raised over $250,000 for the school, for the Discovery School. I have spent time in doing my work for the school board, and I think I've been a valuable member of the team. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. We will now turn to our first question, and that question will be answered by Mr. Fisher. Tell us about your background and what leads you to make the decision to run.
Well, I'm a parent. My child attended Bradley Academy. I've been active in the school system for many years. In 2007, I led a group of parents against the school system who was discriminating against low-income children. I also did that in 2008 when we fought to ensure that children would have access to textbooks, computers. I've been active in the community for many years. I've been a mentor. I've been a youth minister. I've worked at juvenile. I enjoy working with young people, and I decided to run because my background is a little bit different than others. I know security. I've worked in the law enforcement area for 18 years, so I know about ensuring that our children are safe. As a parent, I know how important that is to people. I also look at issues like Common Core and overcrowding, and I think it's important that we address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Herring?
Yes, simply put, I chose to run for the office because I have such an exposure to educators, being the son of 2 educators, my mother having retired from Murfreesboro City Schools, Black Fox Elementary, my father from MTSU. My sister was part of Murfreesboro City Schools when it had 7th and 8th grade at Case and Lane Academy. And my niece also is an educator, interestingly not in South Korea. But I want to bring my business background. I'm well-versed in the fields of insurance and finance. Numbers are very important, and as we think about public schools and numbers and taxes, we need to bring these things together and create opportunities in a very efficient manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. King?
Yes. I'm in sales with a large transportation company, and my job takes me to meet with business owners and decision makers every day. And the one thing I've noticed is we need more businesses in Murfreesboro. My coworkers who don't live here would tell me when they found out I lived in Murfreesboro that I must be lucky. I've got it made being here in Murfreesboro as fast as Murfreesboro is growing, and I'd have to correct them. I said, Murfreesboro is growing residential and retail, but I need more customers. And so that's what prompts me to run, is good schools, I believe, bring good jobs, and we can't have enough good jobs here in town.
Thank you. Ms. Lilly?
I'm a parent in the Murfreesboro community. I serve on the PTO board for Case and Lane Academy as the president, the first vice president of the PTO board. I've worked in the capacity in the community supporting the youth. I serve on the committee for the March of Dimes, and I also am very invested in the youth of our community. And I feel that my transferable skill set leading the human resources of 20-plus years experience in human resources prepares me to assist and support the policies and procedures that impact our youth in the community and the school system. So what better way to support our community by being an advocate for the Murfreesboro City School Board.
Thank you. Ms. Rainier?
Well, I think I just gave you my background. Education, education, education. Currently, besides serving on the school board, I try to visit the schools as often as I can. I'm trying to make a personal goal to stop in each school at least once a month, and I've fallen a little short of that right now because I'm supervising student teachers. So therefore, I know what's going on in education. I know the trends. I know best practices. We also are, I'm serving with Dr. Gilbert on the Chamber of Commerce Workforce Development Task Force, and that, as other people have mentioned, bringing jobs to Tennessee. We want to expose our children as young as possible to options available to them as they grow and progress through the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
I think I've been putting my time in for education in Murfreesboro, and that has been my background. I worked in education as a fundraiser in private schools before I had my children. But since I've had children, I have devoted many, many hours through the Schools Foundation and then at the school board. And most of my work, but prior to being on the school board, was towards raising money for science and technology within the schools. But I have really enjoyed my experience in going into the schools and learning about all of the different schools and what they have to offer. And I like the position that if there's a policy that I don't think is being carried out correctly, that is misunderstood, that I'll be able to take it back into the schools, back to the school board, so that it will be implemented correctly.
Thank you. Mr. Ballard?
Well, as I mentioned in my opening, I have a vast corporate experience, and I think it's good to add balance to the decision-making process to the board. There are talented people on the board. We have a great director in the school system, the teachers, and we need to support that. And the way to do that is to add balance and add speed to the decision process and to make sure that when we're looking at things, we're looking at it at the bottom line. Does it help the student? At the end of the day, at the end of every decision, does it help the student? And if that means being more physically responsible, if that means being more speedy in the process, if it means making better decisions to support the teachers, that's what we need to do.
Thank you. We will now turn to our next question. Mr. Herring, you'll be first to answer. Who are your constituents, and how does their input affect decision-making?
I feel I have three primary constituents. First and foremost, the student, the center, the reason that we're here. I would second that to the teachers, whom absolutely deserve our support beyond measure, and then the parents. And I think that's the correct order. Teachers today wear the hats of parents. So that's why I would put them in that second spot, if you will. Students are in so much need of assistance. It's beyond my imagination and my ability to understand all that goes on in the daily rigors of school. The teachers need our support to help those students, again, as Mr. Ballard said, stay at the center of our focus.
Thank you. Mr. King?
I'd say the citizens of Murfreesboro, the parents, the teachers, and the students as well. Because I've been one, I am one. And that's who I want to listen to. What do the parents want? They want the best for the students, and so do the teachers. And I'll tell you this, every teacher I've ever known that has taught my children were perfect professionally, and they also got to know us personally. And that's what I admired. These people did not get into the profession to be rich. I know that. And I admire them for that because I don't have the guts to be a teacher, I'll tell you that. My wife's parents are both teachers. We've been out to dinner and people will stop us and they'll tell us, you know, you were my favorite teacher. And I've always told the story. Nobody ever stops me and tells me, you know, Phil, you were my favorite salesperson. And I bet nobody ever stops us and say, you know, you were my favorite banker, my favorite attorney. But they say you're my favorite teacher.
Thank you. Ms. Lilly?
The teachers, parents, and students in the community of Murfreesboro, supporting them and giving them the resources and tools that they need to be successful to ensure that each child has the opportunity to maximize their learning potential.
Thank you. Ms. Rainier?
Well, I have to echo what everyone else has said. I think our constituents are the public, those sitting here, those at home watching, the man on the street, the child in the classroom, the teacher in the front of the classroom. We're here to support those folks. The children always come first. The teachers would come second. And I think our director of schools would come next because the board is a policy-making board, and we're here to support the director and what ideas and things that she has for the school system, and believe me, there are many. We're here for the public, and the main thing is for the children.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
As a parent, I believe that I am approached regularly as a parent in the system, whether it be at my own children's events, at church, anywhere. I have the opportunity for people to come up to me as a parent, and so I can be an advocate for them. But I also am an advocate for the teachers, and they come to me as well, and they have a really tough job, and I want to help them so that they can carry out their job, so they can close the doors and just get to work to the ministry that they love. I also am I work for the students just like the parents and the teachers, and I hope I will have that chance again.
Thank you. Mr. Ballard?
I would put it students, of course, and then the parents, teachers, and taxpayers. We need to make sure that, the students are getting every opportunity to succeed, and the teachers are getting the tools to succeed, and that the taxpayers are getting the bang for the buck, and they're getting what they're paying for, and that we're using our heads to make sure that everything that we're doing is channeling toward the students and the success of that student. So students, teachers, and the taxpayers.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
Who are our constituents? I believe our constituents are the community. See, I began school a few years ago now, and when I started school, the parents knew the teachers knew the local business people, and the teachers knew the pastors. Everyone knew everyone, and everyone was working together to ensure that the children were getting what they needed, that the schools were properly funded, that every child had what they needed. I believe very strongly that we need to get back to the concept of the neighborhood schools, and I believe that that's the best way that we can serve our children's best interests. So I believe very strongly that our constituents, most importantly, at the end of the day, is our children. We need to be doing everything we can to ensure that they get what they need so that they can be successful in their academic endeavors.
Thank you. Our next question will be answered first by Mr. King. What do you feel is the main responsibility of a school board member?
I believe the main responsibility is to make sure that we have a very good school system, that we do whatever it takes to make our schools the best that they can be. I personally believe that our competition is not people in other schools in other states. I believe our competition is in Lebanon, Shelbyville, Tullahoma, Manchester, and even Nashville, because that's who we're competing against when our schools in our school systems to recruit jobs. And that's what I think we need to do, is make the schools the best that they can be for our students.
Thank you. Ms. Lilly?
The main responsibility of the school system is ensuring that our kids have an appropriate education, to provide the resources, again, providing the resources and tools necessary to maximize the child's learning ability. And that starts with the community, and it also starts with us as a community to have a responsibility to ensure that the appropriate policies and procedures are implemented for the school system that will enhance the school system, that will allow us to reach every child in the school system, giving them the opportunity to a free public education.
Thank you. Ms. Rainier?
I think that as our main responsibility as a school board member is to advocate for our school system. We want everyone to know the wonderful successes that are going on here. We want to do what we can to provide the materials necessary for our students. We want to make sure that what we have is appropriate for them. We want to make sure that we budget correctly and wisely. We want to do what's best for these children. The other aspect of this, I think, is that we also need to advocate in Nashville. We need to advocate in Washington because we're getting kind of the short end of the stick from some of our legislators. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
The most important role of a school board member as an advocate is to shape policy and the budget in order to provide the best education for our children possible and to support our school teachers.
Thank you. Mr. Ballard?
The school board should be making for the best that the school system can be and helping the director to do that. Not to micromanage the director, not to micromanage the system, but to be there to help shape and form and develop policy so that we can be successful. Murfreesboro can have the best city school system in the country. I don't have any doubt about that.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
What is the school board member's responsibility? I believe very strongly that the school board member's responsibility at the end of the day is to ensure that the children have what they need to be successful at that in their academic endeavors, is to ensure that they're progressing, to ensure that they're meeting their goals and achieving their goals. I believe also very strongly that we need to ensure that our children are in an environment where they're safe and secure, that our teachers are properly compensated. The school board member has a very important responsibility, and it's when parents send their kids off to school, is to ensure that their children are in capable, loving hands. And I believe very strongly that the school board's responsibility is to ensure that they are in that environment, that they are going to be cared for, and that they can focus on learning and focus on doing well in their schoolwork.
Thank you. Mr. Herring?
I certainly echo the sentiments of all the candidates here today. Certainly, we want to support the director and give her everything that she needs to run our system so that it is, as we know it to be, the best school system that I can think of. We want to advocate, again, as my fellow candidates have said, for the students, for the parents, for the teachers, so that they all have the correct resources to come together and create the best citizen, the best taxpayer years from now. We are, after all, educating our future leaders and our future taxpayers. And I hope that as a board member, we're able to have some input as to how that output really survives in our community.
Thank you. Our next question of the evening goes first to Ms. Lilly. What changes would improve city schools and how could they be implemented?
One of the changes that could be implemented in city schools is the parent involvement, increasing awareness and participation, and we can accomplish that by the use and the educating of the PTO within the school system, because the connection in the community is getting the involvement of the parents and the students and giving them a good understanding of the school system and how it works and how they can support our school system. So one of the changes that can be implemented in the school system is to increase parent involvement and parent understanding and how they can support our school system and make it the best system that it can be in the state of Tennessee.
Thank you. Ms. Rainier?
I echo Ms. Lilly's statement there. I think that parental involvement is very important. Not only parental involvement, but community involvement as well. We have lots of community partners. Our director is fantastic at creating these partnerships with MTSU, with other businesses around town. I know that there have been certain businesses that have allowed their employees to come perhaps on their break time or give them an hour's release time to come and help in the schools. And I think if we could encourage those partnerships, it would help us a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Our system is progressing very well, and I am very happy with our system right now. Of course, we can always take advantage of the environment that we're in, and one thing that I would work on in general is communications. There's no such thing as too much communication, and that is one of the areas that I find is my forte, except public speaking, of course. But I think that we do not take enough advantage of the opportunities that we have around in Murfreesboro. I'd like some more hands-on opportunities like touring Nissan or going to Tullahoma and going through the wind tunnel. I just think that it's nice to have hands-on opportunities for the children, and we need to take advantage of that.
Thank you. Mr. Ballard?
I would echo that business involvement, continue to increase that and take advantage of all the great things that are available out in the community with the businesses. Also to make resources available in the classroom, making sure that teachers aren't experiencing any out-of-pocket expenses to take care of the classroom, the technologies they need, the things that we need to do forward planning instead of reactive planning, and do that so that it can make changes in the classroom.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
Well, there's 3 issues that I'm concerned with. First, I believe that it's important that we readdress the issue of the Common Core. I'm opposed to it. I believe it's inappropriate that we push so strongly on standardized testing. I believe that we need to be focusing on ensuring that children are achieving and going forward, learning the fundamentals. I believe we need to address the issue of overcrowding in the schools and future growth. I believe very strongly in the school voucher system. I also believe very strongly in the issue of school safety. I believe that we need to address emergency and contingency plans in the local schools, because I think when you think about the issue that happened at Newtown, that the tragedy that occurred there, I think that the students can never be too safe. I think we need to readdress the emergency plans for each of these schools and start looking at ways that we can strengthen them.
Thank you. Mr. Herring?
Again, I could echo everyone's comments here so far, but certainly Mrs. Smith's comments about communication. Communication certainly is the root of our ability to connect. If we have clear lines of communication and we can convey the message so that the student, the teacher, the parent, the citizen, the taxpayer, that each of those participants can in fact understand what is going on, then issues such as Common Core, RTI squared, PACAR, and I could go on with another list of acronyms, aren't misunderstood. They're understood, and then in the context that we can come together and make decisions that effectively make our students better.
Thank you. Mr. King?
Thank you. To me, it's easy. I'd ask the teachers. They're the frontline employee. They're in this all day, every day. Ask them, what do they think they could do or could be done to get better? Ask them, what are the hurdles that they face? What can we do to remove those hurdles? They're the ones who know. And let's ask them and see what they say, because if they don't know, I don't think anybody does.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question, Ms. Rainier, you'll be first. If elected, what will be your measure of success in office?
I believe my measure of success will be whether or not I'm effective as a board member. And by effective, I guess I mean whether I visit the schools, whether I attend the meetings, whether I attend the other things that are going on. You would be amazed at how many different activities there are in each of our schools when we've got 12 schools online, that Mitchell Nielsen has something going on at the same time Scales does, at the same time Case and Lane does, and trying to get from here to there to there. I think that it's really important to make sure that the public knows that you're concerned and want to be with their children and with them in those events. I also think that we need to make sure that we establish our policies and that we follow through with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
First of all, I think Ms. Rainier is definitely a measure of success right now. So, but my measure of success is if I do my homework, as I will continue to do, and as I act as a voice for the teachers and for the parents and for the school children, and if I continue to serve out my duties as I have been. But I do want to make sure that I can help represent all of our school children, those that that have special needs, all the way up to those who have special needs because they are gifted.
Thank you. Mr. Ballard?
I think a measure of success would be to look back after 4 years, if elected, to see how much of a gain has been appreciated in the overall educational level of the students in the elementary schools here in Murfreesboro. I think the other is to see that we're doing that efficiently, and taking out any waste in the system so that we're able to do that with the monies that are available and actually return some of that money back to the classrooms and do it with no tax increase. So if we're diligent in that way, and we've got a measure at the end of the day that, hey, in 4 years we've gone from here to here, and it's been a growth pattern, that's what I would hope to say successful is.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
For me, a measure of a successful term would be to talk to parents and see that their children's needs are being met. At the end of the day, that's the way success and failure should be graded, not by any other means other than simply seeing how well their children are doing. Are their children getting the things they need? I think that another measure of success would be to talk with the parents. Are they being able to get involved, to be active in their school? To me, that's another measure of success. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to be comfortable knowing that I've done everything I'm supposed to do when I can talk to parents and feel good knowing that their children got what they needed, that the parents are comfortable interacting with their teachers, that the teachers are happy, that we have, the best teachers. And we have excellent schools here, but as wonderful as our schools are, we can make them better.
Thank you. Mr. Herring?
Certainly. I think the way I would measure a successful tenure on the board would be to have the respect of all my constituents, the students, the teachers, fellow board members, the director, the taxpayers. At the end of the day, respect is something that we take for granted or that we don't have. If we have respect, then we can certainly have significant differences, but still come together. So I hope that respect would be what I would consider my measure of successful tenure on the board.
Thank you. Mr. King?
One of the things I do if elected to the city school board is to make myself available to any group, organization, civic club, Sunday school class that would allow me to come speak to them and tell them what's going on in the city schools. My measure of success would be, say, running into somebody at the grocery store and they recognize me and say, Phil, when you came and spoke to us, I did not realize that the city schools were doing this well in this area. I learned something, Phil. Thank you very much. That would be my measure of success, would be teaching everybody in the community what we have going on in the city schools.
Thank you. Ms. Lilly?
The measure of success would be to ensure that we have a continuous environment of learning, that we look back and review the year that we've served on the board to determine if we have kept the focus have kept our focus, and the focus is to ensure that the kids are learning and improving and maximizing their learning potential. So the success will be measured by being able to look back and what have we accomplished over the time that we've served on the board. Have we met that mission? Have we increased awareness with our parents, the community as a whole, to be involved in our children's education? Will give us an opportunity to measure the success of what we are doing as an advocate for the city school board.
Thank you. We will now move on to our final question of the evening. As a reminder, each candidate will have 1 minute to answer the question and make closing remarks if they wish. We'll start with Ms. Smith first. What do you feel is the #1 issue facing Murfreesboro City Schools in 5 years, and how will you address that issue?
The #1 issue to me that is facing the city schools in the next 5 years has to do with the ability for teachers to do their jobs. There are many restraints on their times and on their time, and there's so much that I would like for our students to learn. I would love for them to learn foreign language, but we don't have time for that. There's just so much that is put on our teachers, and I want them to be able to have extra education, and I want the children to go out and have opportunities to run around and have more freedom and more exercise and go out and go and have extra learning outside of the classroom and have more hands-on learning. What I can do is to work on policy and to do my homework with that policy to shape the future of the schools. And that's how I can help. And I hope that people will please consider giving me more time on the school board over the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ballard?
I think over the next 5 years, it seems to me that we'll need to develop or continue to try to develop a measurement scale that works for everyone, that actually tells us that teachers are doing a good job, that students are doing a good job, and the school system itself is doing a good job. Also developing and continuing to develop the hiring and retaining of the best teachers. Along with being the best school system, we have to have the best teachers. I'd envision a time when teachers across the state are looking at Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and saying, that's where I'd like to come teach. And that's what we want to do in the next 5 years. I would see that as a success. Some of my personal objectives that I want to guarantee the voters is that if elected, that I'll continue to always be ethical, honest, and caring in every decision that goes down. And that's the way I would expect that the board is already operating, and I can add to that. Also, that I would say that the best thing you can do come March 26th is vote Ballard.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
In the next 5 years, I believe one of the issues that we're going to have to address is the issue of overcrowding and expansion. I read an article recently where it said that Murfreesboro and Rutherford County was among the 6th fastest growing areas in the country, and with that's going to come a lot more students. One of the things that I advocate that I haven't heard other candidates discussing was how we can address the issue. One issue, of course, one answer, of course, would be to build more schools. Another issue would be to address the issue of vouchers, which I believe very strongly in. It's worked in other areas. I believe it's something that we can address. In a short-term basis, we can provide vouchers for children across the board to alleviate some of the overcrowding in the schools and provide smaller classrooms, make it easier for teachers to teach in the classrooms. I believe it's a short-term and a long-term alternative. I believe very strongly that if I'm given the opportunity, the blessing, the privilege to serve on the Murfreesboro City School Board, I will fight to repeal Common Core, and I will be an advocate for parents, for teachers, and of course for the children, because at the end of the day, the children are the most important. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Herring?
I see two issues. One, I'd like to see the possibility of putting more instruction time back in the classroom. Certainly Common Core is a very popular thing that we can chat about now. I think once we come to understand what that is, we'll find that it has as many pros as it does cons, but where that interferes with my thought is the instruction time. So as we think about that today and 5 years from now, instruction time. And second, how we measure progress. With some standards, we measure progress one student next to the other, not taking into account any other consideration for those students. If you have a student who goes home and there are no parents there and possibly never parents there, and you put that child next to another child that goes home and has an incredibly loving family at home, there's a great possibility that the measure of success will be different. And right now, I believe the standards by which we measure each of those children is equal, not fair to either. So those would be two issues that I think are important today, and that certainly I think will be part of what the board needs to consider and will be considering 5 years from now as well. And I thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. King?
Thank you. One of the issues I see over the next 5 years, without a doubt, is growth. That's something we've all witnessed living here in Murfreesboro. Wilson, Rutherford, and Williamson counties over the past 12 years have grown, I think, over 30 to 40%. That number is predicted to be 46% growth over the next 20 years. Even if that number's wrong, let's say instead of 46%, it's half, 23%. That's still healthy growth. Did you know that there's some counties in Tennessee that have shrunk? People have left because of no opportunity. But we have opportunity here. But if we stay ahead of that growth and plan for that growth, then these schools will be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lilly?
One of the most important issues that's facing Murfreesboro City Schools today is the implementation of the Common Core. with any implementation, there has to be a plan in place. And the plan needs to involve ensuring that we actually do a SWOT analysis and not hold teachers accountable for that first year that that plan is implemented, so that that first year can be a year of observation, to look back and do a SWOT analysis to determine what worked well, what did not work well, and what are opportunities for improvement. Giving the teachers the tools and resources to be successful with an implementation without holding them accountable. Also giving the students the tools and resources that they need, but also educating the parents in our community so that they're aware of the changes that will be implemented and they can support those changes, but ensuring that the foundation and our focus is on maximizing the learning potential for each student, and by being able to review that and make changes based off of where we've gone, what we've done, and how we implemented it, and how do we make changes to make it more successful for everyone.
Thank you. Ms. Rainier?
I too have to agree with several other candidates up here who have mentioned growth. And I think that growth in our city is a major component. When you think of growth, we have to think, as we're doing right now, building a new school. What happens then? You have to equip that school. You have to staff that school. There's so much involved and so many dollars that are incorporated into that growth that that's an issue. The other thing that we have to think about in 5 years is our continued achievement and academic growth for our children. Our mission statement is to ensure academic and personal success for each child, and I know that every member of our current school board, and I'm sure all of you as well, want that for each child. That's our goal, that's what we want to do, and I hope that you'll consider me on April the 15th. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. And once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters, Cable Commission, and City Communications Department, I would like to thank all of the candidates for their participation tonight, especially given the dreary weather outside. It must have been a little bit of a trek. I also want to recognize the staff of the Communications Department for their cooperation in presenting this program. I also want to remind all citizens of Murfreesboro to mark your calendars and head to the polls beginning March 26th to exercise this important right in determining who represents you, as well as in the other important positions being voted on. May we close with a round of applause for our candidates.